video of this part, B.3, basic properties of JSON. All right. First, let us look at the JSON syntax rules. Yeah. Much simpler than those of XML. Yeah. All right. So JSON syntax, it's a subset of JavaScript syntax. Yeah. So a lot of similarities, slightly different. Yeah. All right. First, data is in name value pairs. Yeah. This way actually is pretty common. Yeah. So we use name value pairs to store data in a lot of places. Yeah. So we can, when we send query parameters to server, we use name value pairs. Yeah. In Java, so the Java properties are stored as name value pairs. Yeah. You know, in a lot of places. Yeah. So here, this is a common way. Yeah. Name value pairs. Yeah. So it just uses the, the usual way to store data. Yeah. And the data is separated by commas. Yeah. Delimited for different properties using commas. Yeah. Also, a commonly used way. Yeah. Curly braces hold objects. When you want to represent a JSON object, you use curly braces. Yeah. All right. Square brackets hold arrays. Yeah. So other than objects, sometimes we need to represent array data. Yeah. So that's also very useful. So this array case, also very useful. Yeah. So we need that. Yeah. All right. So next, we want to compare the JSON way and the JavaScript object way. Slightly different. Yeah, so we want to see that part. Yeah. All right. So the key value pair, right? Name, yeah. So here, name value pair, this name also sometimes called a key. Okay? Yeah. Same meaning. Key value pair, name value pair. Yeah. So here we talk about key part, the name part. Okay? The names of the properties, name part. Keys must be strings written within double quotes. Yeah, so when we use JSON format, we always see that. Double quotes around name. Yeah. But for the JavaScript, it is more flexible. So it covers more cases than this one. It has this case, but it has other cases. Yeah. Keys can be strings. Strings like this. Yeah. So the first case, like this. But it has other cases. Yeah. Numbers. Yeah. Numbers can be used as keys. Values. Yeah. Numbers, we do not need to use double quotes. Yeah. Double quotes, we mean strings. Yeah. So numbers, no double quotes. Strictly, directly numbers. Yeah. Or identifier names. So that's the variable names. When you use variables, you need to use valid identifiers, right? So valid variable names. For that case, we don't use double quotes. So you cannot use double quotes for the variable names, identifiers. Yeah. Okay. So that's the reason. So when you see no double quotes, that's the identifier case, the variable name case. Yeah. All right. Then we compare the values between these two closely related object types. Yeah. So in JSON, values must be one of the following data types. Yeah. So let's look at what are those types. Yeah. It could be a string. String is the value of a property. Yeah. Could be a number. Yeah. No double quotes. Just a number directly. Yeah. Could be an object. JSON object. So not JavaScript object, JSON object. Yeah. So the whole object, remember, enclosed inside a pair of curly braces. So that whole thing is used as the value of one property. Yeah. So an object. Yeah. An array. A pair of square brackets. Yeah. Whole array. Yeah. As one value of a property. Yeah. All right. A boolean. Yeah. True or false. A boolean. Yeah. Then null object. Yeah. Because if it's an object, null value, right? Null value. Yeah. Null object. Yeah. You just type this null, right? Without using double quotes. If you use it in double quotes, it's a string value. So you cannot use double quotes. Yeah. Just type that null directly. Okay? Yeah. All right. So then the JSON values cannot be one of the following types. Yeah. These types you cannot use as a JSON value. Yeah. The first one, a function. A function, the definition of a function. We cannot. Yeah. Yeah. Definition of a function. Yeah. Do not use that as a JSON value. Okay. Yeah, property value. Yeah. And a date object. JavaScript date. Yeah. Inside JavaScript, we use object to represent dates. Yeah. That date object, you cannot use it directly as a JSON object. If you want to use data information, you need to use the string format. String can be used to represent a date. So that is okay. But date object, it's not in string format. It is of an object type. Now, so later we will see date related handling way using some examples. Yeah. So you will see the conversion between a date object and a string representation both ways. Yeah, both ways. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Another one, undefined. Yeah. You cannot use undefined value as any JSON property value. Yeah. All right. Next, parse. JSON parse. Yeah. Parse, we saw that before, right? Yeah. We call the JSON.parse method. Yeah. Yeah. So when we need to work in JavaScript, in a browser environment, JavaScript, so we get data, so we do this, JSON parse. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So when we do it, our data is in string format. So then we call this method, we convert it to a JavaScript object. Yeah. So we saw this in the previous video through some example. Yeah. So here we know it. Yeah. But another thing, array as JSON. Yeah. So here there is a case. Our JSON data, the whole data part, the whole thing is an array. Okay? So here it is not a one particular JSON property value is an array. It's not that. So the whole JSON object together is an array. Yeah. So in this case, we can still use the JSON.parse to do the conversion, but the result is a JavaScript array. So because array format is different from regular object format. So array format. Yeah. So that's the reason we want to separate. Okay? So object type, array type. So inside JavaScript, we want to separate these two data types. Yeah. All right. So let's look at an array example, the JSON array example. Yeah. So using the outside parenthesis, a pair of square brackets. Yeah. So that's an array. Yeah. Inside, using commas to separate element values. Yeah. All right. And this way, yeah. So another type, JSON data format. Yeah. So in your mind, so you have the two types, object type, array type. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Then parsing dates. Now we want to talk about date object and the string representation conversion. Yeah, so we will look at that. Yeah. Date objects are not allowed in JSON directly. You cannot use a date JavaScript date object as a property value in your JSON object. Yeah. So you need to do conversion. Yeah. Yeah. Because sometimes we need to include the date information as a property value. So you can do it, but you need to convert it to a string value. Yeah. But your string value can be converted to date object, back and forth, two ways. Yeah. All right. And when you need to use it, yeah, because when you convert to a string, so you do the transmission, exchanging, yeah. But at the end, when you need to use it, so you need to recover to the original date object format. Yeah. Excuse me. So you need to convert it back into the date object when you need to use it. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So let's look at example. Yeah. All right. So in this example, you can see our JSON format. Yeah. We use a string to represent date information. Here, this is the standard format. Yeah. Year dash, what kind of standard? SQL standard. Okay. SQL date standard. All right. So later we will see, we will learn some SQL basic knowledge. Yeah, SQL basic. Yeah. So when we get there, yeah. So this is the standard SQL date format. Yeah. All right. So you use this format. Okay. Then after the parse, right? So parse, you still get string, but before you use it, you need to use the new operator, new. So that's the way you create a new object, new. Yeah. Date constructor, object constructor, and the string is passed as a parameter. Yeah. Then internally, the constructor will do the conversion. Yeah. So then you get a normal date object. So then you can use in your program. Yeah. So that's the way you need to do. Yeah. All right. For the conversion. Yeah. Next, Stringify a JavaScript object. Yeah. Before you send the data, you need to send a string representation of a JavaScript object. And we saw this before. This is not new for us. Yeah. Okay. So here, just for this example, yeah. Yeah, but yeah. All right, the string here, yeah. Because usually when we do the Stringify, most of the time we send the string to the server. Server side data processing program. Yeah, usually we do that. Yeah, but here, in this example, it just displayed a string. You can see the, concrete string in JSON format. Yeah, yeah. But most of the time we need to send it to server-side program. All right. Another case, we do the Stringify, a JavaScript array. You can send array data to the server side. Yeah. So you do this. Yeah. So you start with an array representation in your JavaScript function. Yeah. So then you convert it to a string representation, preserving the array structure. Yeah. So then you send the server-side program. So at the server-side program, because we expect that programming language support JSON format. So you should find some appropriate method. Yeah. So appropriate method, some, associated with some object. Yeah. So you can do the conversion at the other side. Yeah. All right. So with this kind of preparation, yeah. So that's our JSON background knowledge. Yeah. So with this knowledge preparation, so then we are ready to use JSON in our programming projects. Yeah. But when we use it, we need to do the server-side programming. Yeah, because the communication we will do between client and the server. So we will do that after we do the server-side programming. Yeah. All right, so we complete this part.